Chapter 161. After he finished speaking, the old demon hesitated again. However, this yin-yang monster ginseng can only be used by one man and one woman. Those two girls are related to young master, so when the time comes, I'm afraid it will be somewhat troublesome to choose. 2. Yang Kai felt strange. When he heard the old demon mention them, Yang Kai thought it was a slip of the tongue, but after thinking about it for a moment, he suddenly understood. The old demon probably thought he had a relationship with the Hu sisters. After all, when he was sealed, he was climbing the endless stairs with Hu Jiao heir and Hu Mei heir. After being sealed, the old demon couldn't sense the situation outside, so naturally he didn't know what happened inside the hall. Not wanting to explain too much to him, Yang Kai simply said, "In the future, if I am alone with any woman, you seal your divine sense." He was afraid that when he was intimate with Su Yan in the future, he would forget the existence of the old demon. Hearing this, the old demon hurriedly cried out, "Young master, rest assured, although this old servant is evil, he will not do such things. It's good that you remember. This old servant will remember." After a moment of silence, the old demon said, "Young master, if you don't mind, this old servant would like to take a look at the bottom of this mountain stream." "What's down there?" Yang Kai couldn't help but become interested. He was also very curious about the bottom of the coiling dragon stream, but his current strength was insufficient, so there was no way he could explore it. "This old servant doesn't know what is down there, but I can feel a strong yang aura, which is nemesis to this old servant's soul. In addition, there is also a strong demonic qi. These two auras are opposites, so I don't know why they would appear here at the same time. To tell young master the truth, this old servant wants to use the demonic qi down there to restore the strength of his soul, so that he can help young master in the future." Yang Kai frowned. When the old demon said there was demonic qi down there, Yang Kai could understand. The coiling dragon stream was created by a single strike from a peerless devil, and that devil had also died under the coiling dragon stream, so it was natural that there would be traces of demonic qi left behind. However, the old demon wanted to use the evil demon qi to restore his divine soul. Yang Kai couldn't make up his mind. He did not know if he would be able to control the old demon after it grew stronger. If he couldn't control it, he would be shooting himself in the foot. However, after thinking about it, Yang Kai felt that he didn't need to worry too much. His strand of divine sense had fused with the old demon, so his life and death were in his hands. While old demon was anxiously waiting, Yang Kai nodded and said, "Go." He poured some yuan qi into the soul breaker, all for the old demon to activate this secret treasure and release it. "Many thanks, young master." The old demon shed tears of gratitude. Wrapping himself around the soul breaker all, he transformed into a streak of black smoke and flew down the coiling dragon stream. After the old demon left, Yang Kai took out a small pouch from his bosom. This pouch belonged to Lan Chudai, and inside it were 2 seeds of pure heart. Her face flashed in front of his eyes, and Yang Kai couldn't help but frown. If this beautiful senior sister wasn't so scheming, she would definitely be very likable. The first time he met her was when he spent some money to buy her seeds in Black Wind trade. Later, they met again in Heaven's Cave Inheritance. It could be said that it was a kind of fate. They explored together, fought together, and were both from the same sect. It could be said that this was an unforgettable memory. If it weren't for her actions, Yang Kai would not have disliked her. In the end, she attacked Nye Yong. Although it was to show goodwill to Yang Kai, it also let Yang Kai see her ruthlessness and reality. When she was useful to him, she would cover for him. Nye Yong had repeatedly looked for trouble with Yang Kai, but Lan Chudai had never said a good word for him. This was because at that time, Nye Yong was more useful than Yang Kai. At that time, if Lan Chudai had reprimanded him as a senior sister, Nye Yong would not have been so presumptuous. However, she didn't. Instead, it was Du Yishuang who stood on Yang Kai's side. When Nye Yong was no longer useful, she abandoned him like a worn-out shoe and even attacked him. Yang Kai didn't blame her for anything. Everyone had the right to choose their own life, others had no right to interfere. Perhaps she was realistic, perhaps she was indifferent, perhaps she was trying to curry favor with those in power, but that was her choice, that was her personality. Knowing this, he didn't want to have a deep relationship with her. He poured out the 2 seeds from the pouch and casually threw the pouch into the coiling dragon stream. Where should I plant these 2 seeds? Yang Kai looked around and found that this place was full of stone walls. It wasn't suitable for herbs to grow. After thinking about it, Yang Kai came up with an idea. At the base of the ancient pine above his cave, there was a soft place where ordinary pine trees could take root and grow. Since the pure heart was a spirit grass, its vitality was naturally more tenacious. Moreover, this spirit grass grew by absorbing the world's spiritual qi. There was no need to worry about it robbing the nutrients of the ancient pine tree. Making up his mind, Kai Yang dripped a drop of yang liquid onto one of the pure heart seeds. But what surprised him was that after the first drop of yang liquid, the seed didn't change as much as before. It wasn't until Kai Yang dripped a second drop that it became crystal clear and full. This was definitely an earth-grade, high-grade spirit grass seed. Otherwise, it would not need to absorb 2 drops of yang liquid. Yang Kai didn't know where Lan Chudai had found this thing, but it was worth it to buy it for 1,000 gold taels. After planting the 2 seeds, Yang Kai returned to his cave and sat cross-legged at the entrance. He closed his eyes and slowly began to circulate his true yang secret art. He began to cultivate for the first time after entering the qi transformation stage. Without warning, the yuan qi suddenly began to riot. Yang Kai's clothes and hair fluttered wildly in the wind. His expression suddenly became ferocious, looking somewhat frightening. Along with the yuan qi's riot, Yang Kai's heart also began to stir. It was a kind of crazy desire to find someone to fight, to make himself bleed, or to make others bleed. In the past, this kind of thought would only appear when he used the unyielding will. But now, just by circulating his true yang secret art, it appeared. This was not a problem with Yang Kai, nor was it a problem with the true yang secret art. It was a sign of the qi transformation stage. Just as Su Yen had wanted to tell Yang Kai before, the qi transformation stage was a very special stage for every cultivator. A cultivator started from body tempering until the yuan qi in the body began to open, reaching the initial element stage, and then breaking through to the qi transformation stage. At this time, the accumulation of yuan qi in the cultivator's body was quite large. It was so large that many cultivators were unable to completely control it. Because it was impossible to control it, the yuan qi would riot. Normally, when he didn't circulate his secret art and didn't use his yuan qi, he was no different from other people. But once he used his yuan qi, he would become like Yang Kai, giving people a very violent feeling. In fact, this was a very normal phenomenon. Because of the existence of this phenomenon, there were only 2 purposes for a qi transformation stage cultivator to cultivate. The first was to continue to accumulate their yuan qi, improve their realm, and enhance their strength. This was a goal that would not change from the beginning to the end. The second was to control their strength in the process of accumulating yuan qi. Depending on the strength of each person, it would take a long time for a qi transformation stage cultivator to completely control their yuan qi. But generally speaking, when a cultivator reached qi transformation stage 7 or 8, they would be able to completely control their yuan qi. For example, Lan Chudai, whom Yang Kai had met before, was like this. When she was operating her yuan qi, there would not be any yuan qi riots. But Du Yishuang, Zwen, and Nye Yong were unable to do so. Although Du Yishuang was already at qi transformation stage 6, once she fought with others, her gentle temperament would be affected by the yuan qi riots. The uniqueness of the qi transformation stage made it very easy for a cultivator to have conflicts with others at this stage. Everyone's temper was not very good, and no one would admit defeat. Once there was a difference of opinion or displeasing to the eye, there would be a big fight, leading to bloody casualties everywhere. This was the stage where the death rate of a cultivator was the highest. In response to this situation, many qi transforming stage martial artists would think of ways to calm their mind. They would either take pills or wear artifacts that could calm their mind. All of these could effectively suppress the impulsiveness and violence in their heart. At this time, the advantage of a cultivator who practiced cold attribute martial arts and cultivation methods was highlighted. Because of the cold attribute martial arts and cultivation methods, the yuan qi in their body was ice cold, making it easier for them to suppress the changes in their mind and safely pass through the stage. Yang Kai estimated that when Su Yan was in the qi transformation stage, she did not have to worry about this problem. Her body and mind were already frozen, so how could the yuan qi go berserk? Throughout the qi transformation stage, a cultivator would be improving their strength and fighting with the yuan qi in their body. If they succeeded, they would be able to control their own strength and not be affected by it. If they failed, they would be addicted to the pleasure of the sudden increase in strength and gradually lose their nature. Most of the evil spirits and demons came from this. They lost themselves in their own strength and enjoyed the pleasure of killing people, thus falling into the evil spirit path. Above the qi transformation stage, because of the polarization of the cultivator's nature, it was called the separation and reunion stage. However, this stage was still quite far away from the current Yang Kai. At this moment, Yang Kai, after using the true Yang tactics, the yuan qi in his body showed signs of entering the qi transformation stage. However, the influence of the yuan qi on his mind only lasted for a moment before it returned to normal. A cold feeling came from his chest. This was the effect of the frigid ice jade essence that Su Yan gave to Yang Kai. It was not the frigid ice jade essence's effect that calmed Yang Kai's mind, but he was not affected by the yuan qi at all. After trying for a long time, Yang Kai did not find anything wrong with it. With a thought, the yuan qi in his body was like an extension of his arm. It was abnormally flexible and there was no situation where it could not be controlled. This was a strange phenomenon. He was currently in the qi transforming stage, and although he had the same signs as other martial artists on the surface, he was actually very different on the inside. Other people had to work hard to control their own strength, but Yang Kai did not have to. This was because the yuan qi was under his control from beginning to end, and there was not the slightest bit of disobedience. After thinking for a long time, Yang Kai felt that all of this had to do with him adapting to the unyielding will. When he used the unyielding will, he was bloodthirsty and excited, but his heart was very calm. He knew what he was doing and knew how to do it. He would not let the bloodthirsty excitement affect his judgment. This was a good thing. The qi transformation stage cultivator had to go through 2 missions. Yang Kai had already completed one of them. All that was left was to accumulate strength. Chapter 162. Taking out an incense burner and lighting the incense, Yang Kai sat cross-legged at the entrance of the cave and began cultivating his true Yang secret art. Although the best way to obtain Yang liquid was to directly consume a Yang attribute spirit fruit or absorb the energy from a Yang inflammation stone, Yang Kai still wanted to cultivate his true Yang secret art. He wanted to use the incense to suppress the speed of his true Yang secret art, allowing his yuan qi to adapt to the suppression of the incense. In this way, when it came to battle, his yuan qi would circulate faster and his combat strength would increase. Suppression, in order to erupt when needed. Yang Kai cultivated for 2 whole days, except for adding herbs to the incense burner, he didn't touch it. The yuan qi in his body had increased very little, and circulating his true Yang secret art was also very difficult, but Yang Kai still enjoyed it. However, when he circulated his true Yang secret art, he would unintentionally think of Su Yan's appearance. Every time he thought of her, he would recall everything that had happened in the hall, recalling her warm, moist, and delicate skin. Strange, why do I keep thinking of these things? Yang Kai was puzzled. Could it be that he really was a perverted demon who couldn't control himself once he broke through? That shouldn't be the case. In terms of willpower, Yang Kai was very confident. Unable to understand the reason, Yang Kai could only try his best to control himself and not let his imagination run wild. One night 2 days later, while Yang Kai was meditating, he suddenly opened his eyes and listened carefully for a long time, a strange look appearing on his face. He seemed to have heard the sound of someone fighting coming from above and also heard a cry of alarm. The cry was faintly familiar, but he couldn't hear it clearly. While he was hesitating, a few small stones suddenly fell in front of him. Yang Kai's face went cold and he immediately became vigilant. These small pebbles were clearly the result of someone climbing down from above. His secluded home had only been opened 2 days ago. How could it have been discovered? Who was this person? However, as the movement above him grew louder and louder, Yang Kai's vigilance gradually disappeared and was replaced by a kind of ecstasy. He didn't know why, but he could feel that this person was Su Yan. The restless yuan qi and accelerated blood flow in his body told him this. Perhaps it was because of the art of joyous union. Their previous dual cultivation had caused their yuan qi to fuse. It was because of this connection that they were able to sense each other when they were not far apart. Wasn't it once a month? Why did she come looking for him after being apart for only 10 days? A strange smile appeared on Yang Kai's face. Yang Kai told the old demon not to come back for the time being. He looked at the entrance of the cave with anticipation. A moment later, a white figure flew in from the outside. Without waiting for her to land, Yang Kai reached out and pulled her into his arms. Su Yan's body was very hot, and her heart was pounding against Yang Kai's chest. Under the hazy moonlight, Yang Kai could even see the faint blush on her face. She was still wearing the woman's hair bun and dressed like a young woman. This made her look even more mature and attractive. Yang Kai lowered his head and was about to kiss her. Wait a minute. Su Yan felt the hot breath on her face and resisted the throbbing sensation, gently pushing Yang Kai away. What's wrong? Yang Kai didn't force her. I didn't come alone. Su Yan looked at Yang Kai awkwardly. Only then did Kai Yang notice that she was actually carrying a person in her hand. This person was on her back and had not moved at all. If not for Su Yan's reminder, Yang Kai wouldn't have noticed. What's going on? Yang Kai was stunned. The scene in front of him made his brain feel a little short of oxygen. Su Yan came to find him, so why did she bring another person with her? Do you know her? Su Yan bit her lip and asked. Her expression was strange, a little guilty, and a little embarrassed. Let me see. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and lifted this person up, holding her in his arms. Be careful, she's a woman. Su Yan reminded him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Yang Kai's face turned red. He was wondering why he felt something soft pressing against his arm. It turned out that the other party was a woman. Don't touch where you shouldn't. Su Yan glared at him. Yang Kai was embarrassed to death. He hurriedly turned the unknown woman around. After seeing her appearance, Yang Kai felt like he was struck by lightning and was petrified on the spot. Little senior sister? Yang Kai was stunned for a long time before he reacted. He never would have thought that the person Su Yan had brought over was actually Xia Ningchang. No wonder her back was so familiar. At this moment, Xia Ningchang's eyes were closed and her face was still covered by a veil. Her breathing was even, obviously she wasn't injured and was just unconscious. What the hell is going on? Yang Kai really couldn't figure out what was going on. His mind was in a mess. If it was Su Yan who came to find him in the middle of the night, Yang Kai could barely accept it. But she actually brought the unconscious Xia Ningchang with her. This was somewhat inconceivable. Yang Kai was shocked when he remembered the sounds of battle he had just heard. He looked at Su Yan and asked, Did you knock her out? Su Yan's expression was a little unnatural. She nodded slightly and said, I didn't hurt her. She's been here for the past few days. I wanted to come find you, but I couldn't, so I knocked her out. Yang Kai held his forehead and was speechless for a long time. Although Su Yan and Xia Ningchang were both in the Yuan Qi realm, one was already in the Yuan Qi third stage and the other had just broken through. If they really fought, Xia Ningchang definitely wouldn't be a match. What's more, Su Yan said that she knocked her out, so it was probably a sneak attack. This matter was troublesome. His little senior sister didn't have much of a temper. Once she woke up and explained, everything would be fine. But if this matter was found out by Meng Wuya, with his domineering nature, Yang Kai sweated just thinking about it. She seems to care about you a lot. Do you know each other? Su Yan looked at Yang Kai and asked. Yang Kai didn't deny it. He carried Xia Ningchang inside and placed her on the stone bed. Looking at her sleeping face, Yang Kai let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt. If she was, he really didn't know how to deal with the aftermath. Su Yan didn't say anything and just quietly watched. You came to find me so late. What's the matter? Yang Kai hugged her and sat on the edge of the bed. Su Yan unnaturally twisted her body and pursed her lips. After a long time, she said, Nothing. So you missed me? Yang Kai smiled. Su Yan gently nodded her head. Yang Kai was about to make his next move when Su Yan suddenly reached out and covered his mouth. She sternly said, This is very unusual. I cultivate Ice Heart's secret art. Nothing can affect my heart, so this is impossible. But now, when I cultivate, I begin to think of you. The more I suppress it, the more I think of you. I also miss you. These words immediately caused Su Yan's body to soften, unable to muster even the slightest strength to resist. We'll talk about this later. Yang Kai pushed Su Yan down on the stone bed and wantonly roamed his hands. Her breathing became heavier and heavier, and her clothes gradually became messy. Yang Kai raised his eyes and looked at her. Through the reflection of the hazy moonlight, he could see Su Yan's jade-like skin faintly discernible, her tall and straight twin peaks exuding an alluring luster under her thin corset. Her pair of slender legs were partially visible, and a delicate fragrance wafted into his nostrils along with her gentle breath. Her face, her nose, her lips, and her tightly closed, trembling eyes were all as beautiful as a dream that would shatter upon waking up. Her expression was nervous and expectant. Pure as ice, pure as jade, the goddess that all the male disciples of the three sects yearned for was lying under him, allowing him to taste her. Especially the layer of pure and holy light on her face, at this moment, revealed a different kind of charm. Yang Kai was full of vigor. How could he resist such temptation? A warm current surged into his dantian as he bent down and kissed every inch of Su Yan's delicate skin. She trembled, unconsciously twisting and moaning again and again. After a long time, Yang Kai gently penetrated deeper. Her body was filled to the brim. After Su Yan experienced a slight discomfort, the convulsive taste swallowed her like a tide. She reservedly cooperated. Even if she covered her mouth with her hands, there were still sounds of babbling coming out. Inside the stone room, there was a riot of falling petals and a delicate fragrance. After the wind and rain, the two snuggled together awkwardly. It wasn't because of the awkwardness of facing each other, but because after such a long battle, the two finally remembered that there was still Xia Ningchang beside them. She was sleeping less than half a foot away from them. Fortunately, she was in a coma. Not only was Yang Kai rejoicing, but Su Yan was also very scared. They didn't know why, but when they were dual cultivating, they only had each other in their hearts. They didn't care about Xia Ningchang at all. Hugging the beauty in his arms, Yang Kai took the initiative to speak. Su Yan, I don't think this is a problem between you and me. Su Yan gently nodded. Her soft long hair scattered on Yang Kai's chest, lifting up a lot when he moved slightly. It should be because of the joyous unification art. When you and I cultivate, we can't help but think of each other. Moreover, with your situation, the more you cultivate, the more you will think of each other. Su Yan gently punched Yang Kai lightly, scolding him for speaking so bluntly. I haven't cultivated much these days, so my feelings aren't as deep as yours. Yang Kai told the truth. He had only cultivated for 2 days, and when he cultivated, he was suppressed by the strange fragrance, so his situation was much better than Su Yan's. It seems that you and I are destined to be tied together. Yang Kai smiled happily. We can't do that. Su Yan firmly said, if you and I are together, we can't control the thoughts in our hearts. Then what do you want to do? Yang Kai asked. Suppress it, do your best to suppress it. We can't become slaves to the joyous unification art. We are cultivating it, not it controlling us. Su Yan had clearly made a decision. After speaking, she gently looked up at Yang Kai. I know this is a bit cruel to you. The Ice Heart secret art I cultivate gives me a great advantage when suppressing my heart, but you are different. Your Yuan Qi is full of yang energy. Once it surges out, it will be much more violent than mine. Chapter 163. I understand. Yang Kai nodded solemnly. If you really can't suppress it, you can go find another woman. Su Yan's long eyelashes flickered, her expression serious. That's not necessary, I'm not a pervert. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. Su Yan slowly shook her head. You don't understand, when that kind of feeling surges up and you're not by my side. I came to find you 2 days ago, but this junior sister Xia has been nearby. I had no choice but to make a move on her. I hope she won't blame me when she wakes up. Is that feeling very strong? Yang Kai frowned. He naturally understood what kind of temperament Su Yan had. For such a pure and innocent woman to shamelessly ask for something from him, it could be imagined what kind of limit she had reached. Very strong, so strong that my body and mind trembled. Su Yan said seriously, so I don't object to you finding another woman. Yang Kai felt a little guilty after hearing her words, but he didn't dare to say anything without full confidence. Su Yan shrank into Yang Kai's arms and glanced to the side. For example, this junior sister Xia is a very good candidate. I see that she cares about you a lot. Although she's wearing a veil, she's definitely a beautiful person. Her strength isn't low, her heart is kind, and her temper is gentle. You might as well interact with her more. If you can't hold on and I'm not by your side, there will be someone who can comfort you. You can't say that, the consequences are very serious. Yang Kai felt a headache whenever he thought of Meng Wuya. How did you two meet? Yang Kai briefly explained what happened in the Nine Mountain Valley, but he didn't mention the kiss. It wasn't that Yang Kai wanted to hide it from Su Yan, but this matter involved Xia Ningchang's reputation, so how could he casually talk about it? So it's like that, then I have to thank her. After listening, Su Yan couldn't help but have a good impression of Xia Ningchang. The 9 yuan condensing dew that Yang Kai gave her was from Xia Ningchang. When she wakes up, find a time to apologize. Senior sister Xia won't blame you. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. I will. The two of them hugged each other until the middle of the night and exchanged many intimate words. Around midnight, Su Yan got up and put on her clothes. I should go. Su Yan said softly. Leaving Kai Yang for her was also a kind of tempering and test of her mind. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Yang Kai pulled her to the entrance of the cave and pointed at the yin-yang monster ginseng. Give it some yuan qi first. What is this? Su Yan squatted down and looked at the yin-yang monster ginseng in confusion and couldn't help but ask, it's actually smiling at me, is it a world spirit treasure? Yes, it's a kind of heaven and earth spirit creature that absorbs yin qi and yang qi to survive. There's only yang qi here, so I need you to replenish the yin qi. Su Yan didn't hesitate. She touched the yin-yang monster ginseng and poured the yuan qi from her body into it, making the world spirit creature's expression much happier. After a while, Su Yan took back her hand, stood up, and hugged Yang Kai. After hugging, she turned and left. Yang Kai smiled and looked at her back and didn't ask her to stay. It wasn't until Su Yan's body was about to disappear that Yang Kai suddenly remembered something and quickly asked, by the way, when will senior sister Xia wake up? Tomorrow. Su Yan's voice came from afar. She didn't take Xia Ningchang with her. She deliberately stayed here because she wanted Yang Kai to have more contact with her. As for what Yang Kai would say when the girl woke up, she didn't need to worry. With Yang Kai's intelligence, it would be easy for him to make up a lie and win her favor. After leaving Yang Kai's cave mansion, Su Yan flew to the top of the coiling dragon stream. Su Yan turned her head and looked back, her heart filled with guilt and uneasiness. At this moment, she felt like a bad woman. She wanted to rush over and give Yang Kai a good beating, then leave satisfied. As soon as this thought arose, Su Yan's face turned red. Su Yan blamed herself on the top of the coiling dragon stream. Yang Kai stood at the entrance of the cave, his heart in a mess. After thinking for a while, he began to sweat. He suddenly remembered that he had neglected a very important matter. According to Su Yan, she used a drug to make Xia Ningchang faint. However, she didn't know what kind of physique Xia Ningchang had. Sacred spirit medicine body. It was the best medicine furnace in the world. Combined with her secret art, she could refine all the energy in the world into pills. When it came to alchemy, Xia Ningchang was a grandmaster. How could such a person be knocked out by a mere drug? Even if she had fainted at the time, she certainly wouldn't have woken up until dawn. With her special physique, she would have woken up in just a moment. No way. Yang Kai was sweating profusely. His body stiffened as he stood at the entrance of the cave, not daring to move for a full 2 hours. Yang Kai had the urge to dig a hole and crawl into it. After a long time, Yang Kai mechanically turned around and walked step by step towards the stone room where the stone bed was placed. Inside the sealed stone room, there was still a damp smell. As he approached, Kai Yang could clearly feel that Xia Ningchang's breathing had changed. Although it was very small, if one didn't pay close attention, they wouldn't be able to detect it. However, Kai Yang's attention was completely focused on Xia Ningchang, so how could such a small change escape his notice? This was really awkward. After wiping his face, Yang Kai braced himself and walked over to Xia Ningchang's side and slowly sat down. Since this little senior sister was placed on the stone bed, she had been lying there without moving. Her soft breasts slowly rose and fell with her breathing. Her well-proportioned and petite body only occupied one side of the stone bed. Her slender and beautiful legs were straight, and she was wearing a long green dress. This empty stone room was full of spring. Kai Yang stared at her quietly, not even blinking once. As expected, Xia Ningchang's breathing had changed again. Her heartbeat had also become much more rapid. Her eyelashes trembled slightly, and a faint blush appeared on her face. "AI." Yang Kai let out a long sigh. He bent down and whispered into Xia Ningchang's ear, little senior sister, little senior sister." Xia Ningchang didn't move and didn't open her eyes. It was as if she was really unconscious. Yang Kai helplessly said, "I'm going to lift your veil." Speaking of which, Yang Kai had never seen her real face since he met her. Every time Xia Ningchang appeared, her face was covered by a veil. Even when they kissed in the Nine Yin Valley, she only lifted a corner of her veil and didn't reveal her full face. It was impossible for Yang Kai to not be curious about her appearance. But he wasn't so bored as to ask to see her face. At this moment, Yang Kai had no choice but to do this. As he spoke, he reached out and lifted the veil, slowly lifting it up. From beginning to end, Yang Kai had been observing the changes in Xia Ningchang's expression. But even when he was about to lift the veil, Xia Ningchang didn't resist at all. She really could endure it. Yang Kai was in awe. After testing a few more times and confirming that she really wouldn't wake up, Yang Kai finally put down the veil. He laughed strangely and said, "Little senior sister, if you don't wake up, I'm going to..." This laughter was full of meaning and was full of intonation. Its deep meaning was self-evident. As he spoke, Yang Kai spread his 10 fingers and shook Xia Ningchang's lower abdomen as if he had chicken claws. Once he touched her, he immediately retracted his fingers, causing waves of strange sounds. Xia Ningchang couldn't help but move her body. The corners of her mouth uncontrollably curved upwards. But she still didn't open her eyes. She let him torture her as she lay there unconscious. Yang Kai threatened her for a long time. He even pretended to grab her breasts, but she ignored him. "Fine, you really are unconscious." After a long battle of wits and courage, Yang Kai had no choice but to admit defeat. He faintly sighed, "Little senior sister, sleep well. When dawn comes, you won't remember anything." After saying this, Yang Kai got up and walked to the entrance of the cave to continue meditating. The night passed in silence. When dawn came, Yang Kai walked in again and looked at Xia Ningchang. He couldn't help but be speechless. It was really difficult for her to maintain this position for an entire night. He didn't know if her body was numb or not. After thinking about it, Yang Kai turned her over and let her lie on her side on the stone bed. After doing this, Yang Kai followed the passage he had cut out and climbed to the top of the coiling dragon stream. When it came to Xia Ningchang, Yang Kai wasn't worried at all. Whether she was awake or unconscious, this little senior sister had a simple temperament. Even if she bumped into him and Su Yen, she wouldn't pose any threat to him. Walking all the way to the interior of High Heaven Pavilion, as he passed by the contribution hall, Old Man Meng enthusiastically called out, "Little Yang Kai." Yang Kai's face suddenly changed, but he pretended not to hear, and in a flash, he disappeared. Why did he run? Old man Meng frowned for a long time, but couldn't remember how he had offended him. How could he know that Yang Kai was feeling guilty because of last night's events? Greetings, Treasurer Meng. A group of High Heaven Pavilion disciples respectfully saluted Treasurer Meng. Before the Heaven's Cave inheritance appeared, how could old man Meng receive such treatment? Everyone only thought of him as a small shopkeeper. But since that day when he showed off his strength and suppressed the entire blood battle gang, everyone knew that this somewhat lecherous shopkeeper was actually a master who didn't show off his strength. Who would dare be the slightest bit presumptuous in front of him? Each and every one of them was more well-behaved than a rabbit. Seeing that old man Meng didn't chase after him, Yang Kai couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. As he walked, he saw many people gathered in front of the martial skill pavilion, bustling with noise and excitement. Standing in place and listening for a moment, Yang Kai suddenly understood what was going on. With the opening of the Heaven's Cave inheritance this time, many disciples had obtained various martial skills and cultivation methods through different channels. With regards to these martial skills and cultivation methods, the sect was naturally interested in collecting them and using them to fill the sect's martial skills pavilion. If a disciple was willing to contribute their martial skills and secret arts to the sect, they would receive some contribution points as a reward, and the rewards were quite generous. It wasn't only High Heaven Pavilion that did this. Blood Battle Gang and Storm Hall also had such a reward system. Yang Kai himself had obtained 2 sets of martial skills from the Heaven's Cave inheritance. One was the Burning Sunburst, the other was the Star Mark, but he wasn't interested in submitting them, especially the Star Mark, which was his own unique weapon. Chapter 164. However, if someone was willing to exchange martial skills with him, he could give up the Scorching Sun's Burst. However, the sect strictly forbade disciples from exchanging martial skills privately, which made him feel quite regretful. Just as he was about to take a step forward, a cold shout came from not far away, "Yang Kai!" Turning his head towards the source of the voice, Yang Kai's brow wrinkled slightly. The person who shouted was a 26 or 27-year-old youth. Yang Kai recognized this person. It was Chao Jingwen from the disciplinary hall. A few months ago, he was the one who ordered him, Li Yuntian and the others to be thrown into the forest prison. Chao Jingwen walked in front of Yang Kai with his hands behind his back. His expression was indifferent, his eyes cold. "Brother, do you need something?" Chao Jingwen coldly snorted. Without speaking, he waved his hand and threw an object directly at Yang Kai. Yang Kai stretched out 2 fingers and caught the object. His calm expression made Chao Jingwen's face tremble. He obviously didn't expect that his hidden energy would be so easily neutralized by Yang Kai. "What is this?" Yang Kai looked at the object in his hand. It was a letter, but he didn't immediately open it. "A promotion order," Chao Jingwen explained with a straight face. According to the order of the Elder Council, trial disciple Yang Kai has broken through to the initial element stage and is promoted to an ordinary disciple. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. "Promoted?" "Correct." Chao Jingwen nodded. "You have been in the sect for 3 years, but you haven't broken through to the tempered body stage, so you were demoted to a trial disciple. However, since you diligently cultivated and finally broke through to the initial element stage, the Elder Council has decided to give you a promotion opportunity." "Opportunity?" Yang Kai understood the meaning behind his words. Chao Jingwen said meaningfully, "As long as you complete the task given by the Elder Council, you can be promoted from a trial disciple to an ordinary disciple. In the history of High Heaven Pavilion, only you have received this honor. This is a rare opportunity. Junior brother Yang, you must properly grasp it. Whether or not you can make a comeback will depend on this opportunity." "Not interested." Yang Kai waved his hand and threw the promotion order back to Chao Jing. Chao Jingwen's expression changed. He raised his hand and took it, saying sternly, "Yang Kai, this is the order of the Elder Council. Do you dare to refuse?" "What happened to the Council of Elders?" Yang Kai said impatiently, "I don't steal, I don't rob, I'm just an honest High Heaven Pavilion trial disciple. Do they still want to force me to advance? Although Yang Kai didn't know what the mission in the letter was, he knew that it wouldn't be easy to complete. It might even be very dangerous. So you're the kind of person who is content with mediocrity. Chao Jingwen laughed sarcastically. Speaking of which, this promotion order should have been given to Yang Kai when he was rescued by Su Yan from the forest prison. However, after Yang Kai went to the Nine Yin Valley with Xia Ningchang, the Heaven's Cave Inheritance Order appeared again 2 days after they returned. It had been delayed until now. Whether I'm mediocre or not, it's not up to you to say. Yang Kai curled his lips and walked past Chao Jun. Yang Kai! Chao Zhengwen shouted, attracting the attention of many High Heaven Pavilion disciples. Don't think that because you obtain some opportunities in the Heaven's Cave Inheritance you can act so arrogantly. You're not the only one who had a fortuitous encounter there. You dare to ignore the Elder Council's order, you know the consequences. Scram! Yang Kai turned around and roared at Chao Jingwen with a murderous look on his face. The latter was stunned for a moment, and by the time he reacted, Yang Kai had already disappeared. In front of the Martial Skill Pavilion, there was silence. Many High Heaven Pavilion disciples who had just witnessed the scene were secretly shocked. Yang Kai had actually ignored the Elder Council's order. This was simply unbelievable. For them, the Elder Council's order was the golden rule. Once the order was given, even if it was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, they had to rush through it. When had they ever dared to refuse? But just now, a trial disciple in front of them had refused the Elder Council's order. Wasn't this defying the rules? Did he still have any respect for the elders? Many people admired Kai Yang in their hearts, but at the same time, they also secretly scolded him. They thought that Kai Yang was probably a person who was content with mediocrity, so he refused the promotion order. Chao Zhengwen stood in place with an ashen face. The promotion order in his hand had been crushed by him, and he was both annoyed and at a loss for what to do. The great elder had personally told him that no matter what, Yang Kai had to accept this promotion order and complete the task. As for what the task was, Chao Zhengwen had secretly glanced at it. Go to the ash-gray cloud evil land alone and kill a demon cultivator whose strength was not lower than his own. This task could be said to be simple, but it could also be said to be difficult. The ash-gray cloud evil land was a place where countless evil cultivators gathered. If one could meet a lone demon cultivator, naturally it would be easy to complete the task, but if one's luck was bad and they encountered a powerful demon cultivator, even the elders would not be able to escape. Chao Zhengwen had thought that Yang Kai would accept the task no matter what, but he had not expected him to be so bold as to refuse the Elder Council's order in front of so many people. How could he explain this? Standing in place for a long time, Chao Zhengwen bitterly clenched his teeth and turned to leave. Early in the morning his mood was ruined by Chao Zhengwen, so Yang Kai's face was somewhat gloomy. If it were not for that person asking him to come to High Heaven Pavilion 3 years ago, he would not have come all the way here. But why did that person ask him to come to High Heaven Pavilion? What did this place have to do with him? After entering the sect for more than 3 years, Yang Kai had experienced the fickleness of the world and the fickleness of human nature. He did not have the slightest sense of belonging to High Heaven Pavilion. If there was any sense of nostalgia, it was probably only Su Yan. But this sense of nostalgia had only arisen recently. Right, there was also Xia Ningchang. When he got along with this little senior sister, he felt very warm. While walking, someone hurriedly caught up with him from behind. With a whiff of fragrant wind, a person shouted, "Junior brother Yang." Yang Kai stopped in his tracks and turned his head to look. The person who had come was actually Lan Chudai. Although the conflict in Heaven's Cave Inheritance was not very pleasant, after all, they were fellow disciples. Moreover, she did not provoke him. Yang Kai patiently greeted her, "Senior sister Lan." Lan Chudai smiled. Perhaps it was because she was gasping for breath, but her large chest trembled. She seemed to have forgotten everything that had happened in Heaven's Cave Inheritance. She looked at Yang Kai with a natural expression and said, "I thought that you would never talk to me again." "Senior sister, you worry too much." Yang Kai smiled gently. Lan Chudi's bright eyes stared at Yang Kai and said with a smile, I was wrong in Heaven's Cave inheritance. Junior brother, I hope that master will not hold a grudge against me. She was a smart woman. She bluntly pointed out what happened in the Heaven's Cave of inheritance and brushed it over lightly, which made her seem more sincere and not hypocritical. Not to mention that Yang Kai was not a petty person. Even if he had a problem with her, at this moment, it would be resolved. Yang Kai smiled faintly and shook his head. Senior sister is too serious. It is not a big deal. Junior brother, I feel much better now that you have said so. Lan Chudai covered her full chest with her hands. Her expression was as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. She immediately frowned and said, Junior brother, you were too reckless today. Why did you refuse the order of the elders? You will be in trouble. Didn't Chao Jingwen say that I am a mediocre person? Since I am mediocre, I don't need to think about promotion. What's wrong with being a trial disciple? Seeing that Lan Chudai was about to speak, Yang Kai frowned and said, I don't want to talk to anyone today. Please forgive me. Goodbye. Lan Chudai was startled and nodded with a smile. She could naturally see that although Yang Kai's tone was very calm, there was still a hint of coldness between his eyebrows. At this time, if she continued to pester him, it would only annoy him. After saying goodbye to Lan Chudai, Yang Kai returned to his cave mansion. Xia Ningchang was nowhere to be seen. He should have already left. Not only that, but there were also 2 potted plants. Yang Kai felt that they were familiar. It took him a long time to remember that they should be the 2 pots that were placed in front of the contribution hall counter. He often saw old man Meng take care of these 2 pots, but now they were moved to this place by Xia Ningchang. In High Heaven Pavilion, because of Yang Kai's refusal, there was a surging undercurrent. In the first elder's residence, Chao Zhengwen reported the events of the morning with great indignation. After listening to the report, Wei Shitong choked on his tea. He refused. The great elder thought of countless possibilities, but he never thought that Yang Kai would be so bold. Yes. Chao Zhengwen was still furious. He said, not only did he refuse, he even slandered the Elder Council's prestige in front of so many junior martial brothers and sisters. Grand Elder, he shone with an unknown martial art in the Heaven's Cave of Heritage. I'm afraid because of this, he became arrogant and thought that he was a big shot, so he didn't put the Elder Council in his eyes. This person must be severely punished, otherwise it will be difficult to convince others. If in the future the Elder Council issues an order, any disciple can refuse, then, you shut up. Wei Shitong slammed the table and looked at Chao Jingwen angrily. If he refuses, can't you force the order on him and make him accept it? Chao Jingwen was at a loss. He thought to himself, if he refused, why would I make trouble for myself? Isn't this the same as putting my face on someone's cold butt? His refusal is a good thing. I can use this opportunity to teach him a lesson. Why does the great elder have such a reaction? But looking at the great elder's gloomy face, Chao Zhengwen did not dare to say anything. Go, no matter what, even if you kneel down and beg him, make him accept this order. Wei Shitong thought for a while and said in a deep voice. Chao Jingwen was stunned. Kneel down and beg? What are you waiting for? The great elder slapped the table into smithereens. Chao Jingwen did not dare to stay and quickly left. In the second elder's pavilion, Su Xuanwu was sitting cross-legged on the ground. In front of him was a chessboard with black and white pieces crisscrossing. The black pieces were imposing, surrounding the white pieces but not killing them. This was a lifeless endgame. A disciple beside him was reporting something. After hearing the report, Su Xuanwu revealed a strange expression. He refused. That disciple said respectfully, yes, brazenly and condescendingly refused. Su Xuanwu's expression kept changing. After a while, he laughed. Good refusal, good refusal. Eldest senior brother, oh eldest senior brother, you've shot yourself in the foot. I'm afraid this isn't a good feeling. Chapter 165. That day when Treasurer Meng had taken the sect master's jade pendant to the Elder Council to promote Kai Yang to an ordinary disciple, Wei Shitong had wanted to play some tricks. His original intention was to test Kai Yang, but he had not expected that things would not go as he had expected. Kai Yang's rejection had directly caused his initiative to become passive, catching him off guard. Thinking of this, Su Xianwu felt a burst of joy. Second Elder, don't we need to take action? Yang Kai's refusal will surely bring him trouble. The disciple asked again. No. Su Xianwu slowly shook his head. There is no need to worry about this. We just need to watch the show. Although the disciple did not understand why, he did not dare to refute. Wei Shitong, Wei Shitong, I want to see how you explain this to the sect master. With a confident expression, Su Xianwu placed the white piece in his hand. The lifeless situation suddenly showed signs of recovery, and the besieged white piece raised its head like a dragon, faintly showing signs of breaking out. Yang Kai naturally did not know that his unintentional action would involve so many people. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged at the entrance of the cave, his mind calm. A day later, Yang Kai stood up and called out to the old demon in his heart. A moment later, a black chi flew out from the coiling dragon stream and wrapped around Yang Kai's fingers before disappearing. What did you find down there? Yang Kai asked. Old servant did not dare to go too deep, only absorbing some demonic chi 1,000 feet down, but did not find much. But young master can rest assured, after old servant recovers some of his strength, he will definitely go deeper to investigate. The old demon's voice sounded. Yang Kai nodded, squatting down and touching the yin-yang monster ginseng, feeding it a drop of yang liquid and saying, Stay here and absorb yang qi. Remember, if those two women are not here, you must run away, understand? The yin-yang monster ginseng's facial features showed a look of understanding. Young master, are you going somewhere far away? The old demon asked. I'm going out for a walk, you come with me. Of course. The old demon's tone was somewhat excited. Young master, on this trip, if you encounter anyone you want to kill, do not let them go. Old servant's soul breaking all has lost its spirituality and needs a person's soul to repair it. The more souls it absorbs, the stronger the breaking all's effect will. If it can be completely repaired, hey, with one less master, you can dominate the world. Yang Kai smiled faintly. Obviously he was not fooled by the old demon's words. He had his own reasons to go out. First, if Yang's to stay. Secondly, he had also considered the fact that Su Yen was currently cultivating the joyous unification art, making it impossible for her to control her own desires. If he stayed here, it would be very difficult for her to control her desires once they surged out. The ice heart arts she cultivated was destined to not be able to shake her heart too much. If he left, it would be the same as helping her cut off all means of retreat. She would have to resist with all her strength, which would be of great benefit to her cultivation. The third point was due to personal considerations. Cultivating in the chi transformation stage was not as simple as just meditating. Only by experiencing life and death would one be able to quickly grow. Thinking of the gap in strength between him and Su Yen, Yang Kai felt that he could no longer stay in the sect and live a comfortable life. Leaving a letter in the cave, Yang Kai packed lightly and left High Heaven Pavilion under the cover of night. In a tree branch that Yang Kai could not see, a green figure stood there. She did not say anything to persuade him to stay, nor did she come forward to say goodbye. Instead, she just quietly watched him. The night wind blew, blowing the thin veil, revealing a face so beautiful it could cause the downfall of a country. After a long time, an old voice sounded behind her, Disciple, it's late at night, you should rest early. His tone was full of helplessness and love. Xia Ning Chang hugged her arms, feeling a little cold. After leaving High Heaven Pavilion, Yang Kai couldn't think of a good place to go, so he just randomly chose a direction, and with a flash of light under his feet he dashed off. In one night, he was 200 to 300 li away from High Heaven Pavilion. After a night of rapid travel, Yang Kai's mind was immersed in an atmosphere of enlightenment. He felt the changes in the yuan qi in his legs. Every time his speed increased, there would be an inexplicable movement, and he was looking forward to finding a reasonable pattern. Since the Nine Mountain Valley, Yang Kai had roughly understood how to use Yuan Qi to increase his speed. After experimenting with the Heaven's Cave inheritance a few times, the results were not bad. However, this was only a rough use of Yuan Qi, and there was no fixed pattern. When facing an enemy, powerful martial skills were important, but if one had exquisite footwork, it could also make a person like a tiger that had grown wings, making it easier to deal with the enemy's attacks. This was something that Yang Kai deeply experienced when he killed Long Hui. At that time, Long Hui had relied on a set of footwork to play with Yang Kai for a long time. Footwork was something that Yang Kai currently lacked the most. Yang Kai knew that he was only a small cultivator in the Qi transformation stage, so it was impossible for him to create exquisite footwork. However, he could find the most reasonable and effective way to use Yuan Qi from his own walking and running. He could think about how to increase his speed and how to use the smallest amount of Yuan Qi to its maximum effect. The things that he comprehended might not be very high level and might not be useful to others, but it was definitely the most suitable for himself. Powerful martial skills were created by those with profound strength through endless comprehension. It was the condensation of one's own strength and thoughts. While comprehending, Yang Kai's movements were strange. His face was full of confusion, as if he had lost his soul, but his legs were moving non-stop. Sometimes he would dash a few dozen li to the east, sometimes he would turn south and walk slowly for a few dozen li, sometimes he would turn west, and sometimes he would turn north. Crossing mountains and crossing rivers, his speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, and his direction was uncertain. Occasionally, he would crash into a big tree or fall into a puddle, causing his clothes to be torn and tattered. However, Yang Kai did not care about this at all. Only when his strength was exhausted would he stop temporarily and look for some wild animals to fill his stomach. After he recovered, he would continue this aimless journey. Seeing this, Old Demon was secretly startled. With his knowledge and experience, he naturally knew what Yang Kai was doing. It was only because Old Demon knew what he was doing that he was shocked. A mere cultivator in the Qi transformation stage was actually able to fall into such a deep state of comprehension. It was as if his body and mind were one. This completely subverted the Old Demon's understanding. Although he admired him, the Old Demon did not think much of it. After all, Yang Kai's strength was too low. Even if he was comprehending and creating, it was impossible for him to obtain anything too profound. According to the Old Demon's opinion, instead of running around blindly, it was better to find a place to refine some secret treasures that could carry people. With the help of secret treasures, there was no need to use his feet to travel. However, thinking about Yang Kai's personality, the Old Demon did not dare to say his opinion. This was because the secret treasure refining methods he knew were all extremely evil. It required melting the human body and sealing the human soul. If he said this out loud, he would definitely be spurned by Yang Kai. After more than 10 days, Yang Kai was still immersed in his comprehension. He did not know how many li he had run. There was no progress in his comprehension of his own footwork, but he did have some experience in controlling Yuan Qi. It was really an unintentional willow that turned out to be a shade. In the past, whenever Yang Kai's speed increased sharply, 2 flames would appear under his feet. But now, the flames were no longer visible. Even the fluctuations of Yuan Qi could not be felt. When he was running, there was no trace to be found. It was smooth and natural. Not only that, the traces of Yuan Qi's riot gradually calmed down. It was no longer like when he had just advanced. When Yuan Qi moved, people could see through it at a glance. Another few days passed. Yang Kai, who was running, suddenly slowed down. It was as if he was strolling in a courtyard. After a while, his figure was in a trance. When he reappeared, he was already more than 10 zhang away. Before he could stabilize himself, he was in a trance again. When this figure dissipated, Yang Kai returned to his original position. It was as if he had never moved. His light steps were still leisurely moving forward. After a while, this strange situation appeared again. But this time, Yang Kai's figure flickered more than before. Day after day of comprehension and experimentation, Yang Kai's figure finally flickered 7 times. When he stopped, he was already more than 100 zhang away. His face was a little red. He took a deep breath and a smile appeared on Yang Kai's face. The old demon's voice sounded at the right time. Congratulations, young lord, on refining your own footwork. This old servant admires young lord's divine power. Don't flatter me. Yang Kai smiled faintly. In your opinion, what do you think of this footwork? The old demon pondered for a moment and then said, Young lord, do you want to hear the truth or lies? Let me hear the lies first. The old demon's voice immediately sounded. This footwork is unparalleled in the world. It doesn't seem to exist in the mortal world. There are no traces of movement, just like the antelope hanging its horns. This old servant is ashamed. I have never seen such exquisite footwork in my life. I really don't know how to evaluate it. Yang Kai laughed heartily. What you said is too fake. Tell me the truth. The old demon smiled and said seriously, Young lord, you created this footwork while in the chi transformation stage. This old servant really admires you. However, this footwork is not perfect. What young lord is feeling now is too rough. If you use this footwork to deal with a cultivator of the same level, there shouldn't be a big problem. But if you meet an opponent who is stronger than young lord, I'm afraid it will be difficult to use. Moreover, this footwork is a small area movement technique. It's not suitable for long-distance travel. Moreover, I see that young lord can only use this footwork 7 times. I'm afraid that's your limit. Yang Kai nodded, acknowledging the old demon's words. His current strength was still too low. He couldn't feel anything too deep. He was already very satisfied to be able to create a footwork that belonged to him. When his strength increased in the future, it wouldn't be impossible for him to feel and correct it. Moreover, his harvest was not only to create this footwork, but also to learn how to hide his own yuan qi fluctuations during his travels. When he wasn't fighting, Yang Kai looked no different from a normal person. Even if he fought, he wouldn't be like the mad demon like before, unless he used the unyielding will. Chapter 166. These benefits were not something that could be obtained by meditating in his own cave. Yang Kai was glad that he had decided to come out. How many days have I been gone? Yang Kai asked. 35 days, the old demon replied. It had been so long, but Yang Kai did not feel the passage of time at all. He did not expect that his enlightenment would take so long. Fortunately, Dantian had a lot of yang liquid stored in it, all of which were condensed from the pills Xia Ningchang had given him. Otherwise, it would not have been enough to support him for such a long time. 35 days, I wonder how Su Yan is doing now. However, Yang Kai had confidence in her. Su Yan was not an ordinary woman. The reason why she could not control herself last time was probably because he was still in High Heaven Pavilion, causing her heart to waver. But this time he was already far away. Under such circumstances, she could only use all her strength to resist the throbbing that came with her cultivation. She would definitely succeed. He believed that the next time they met, Su Yan's strength would have improved a lot. Ice Heart's secret art not only cultivated the body, but also the mind. Where is this? Yang Kai looked around, not knowing where he was. After more than 30 days of running, Yang Kai estimated that he was now very far away from High Heaven Pavilion. Confused, Yang Kai's ears twitched and he looked behind him. There was some movement coming from that direction. Quietly standing in place for a moment, Yang Kai saw a fleet of carriages in the distance. Moving to the side of the road, Yang Kai stared at the approaching fleet. There were a total of 3 carriages in this fleet. Next to the carriages were a few cultivators armed with swords, riding on tall horses. Standing on the side of the road, Yang Kai obviously attracted the attention of these cultivators. He could feel many vigilant eyes looking at him, but Yang Kai's expression was calm and he did not react, just standing there quietly. After more than a month of enlightenment, he had almost completely restrained the yuan qi in his body. Not to mention standing here, even when he moved, he did not necessarily release much yuan qi fluctuations. These cultivator did not seem to be very strong, so how could they know the depth of Yang Kai? Therefore, she only glanced at him for a moment and then let her guard down. On the first horse, a middle-aged man shouted at Yang Kai, "Little beggar, get out of the way. Don't block the road." Yang Kai frowned. He didn't want to be a busybody, so he took a few steps back to avoid eating the dust. Yang Kai originally wanted to stop them and ask where this place was, but when he saw the vigilant look of the cultivator, he dismissed the idea. It would be bad if there was any misunderstanding. A few horses whizzed past, followed by a procession of carriages. Looking carefully, Kai Yang noticed that among the 3 carriages, the one in the middle had left a deep mark on the ground. It should be some kind of valuable object that had been planted there. As the last carriage passed by, a faint fragrance wafted from it. From the window of that carriage, a pair of bright eyes met Yang Kai's for a brief moment. This carriage was obviously filled with women. After the procession of carriages passed by, Yang Kai walked on the road and looked in the direction they were heading. He didn't know where this place was, but since the procession of carriages was going this way, it must be going to a place with people. He might as well follow. But after a few steps, Yang Kai's face darkened. He found that a person in the procession of carriages turned around and rushed towards him. This person was the middle-aged man who shouted at him just now. What is he going to do? Bruh? Kai Yang couldn't help but sneer. Since he was so daring, he stood there motionless. Not long after, the middle-aged man rode his horse to Yang Kai and pulled the reins. The tall horse raised its front hooves and neighed. Yang Kai looked at him quietly. The middle-aged man looked a little impatient and said, "Little beggar, you are lucky. My lady is kind-hearted. She said that there might be bandits and wild beasts in this wilderness. She asked us to give you a ride." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he bent down and reached out to grab Yang Kai's collar. Yang Kai wanted to resist, but he quickly restrained himself. Although the other party's attitude was not good, he did not have any malicious intentions. Anyway, he was going to chase them to a place with people. This approach was exactly what Yang Kai wanted. The middle-aged man lifted Yang Kai and placed him on the horse's back. He patted the horse's belly with his feet and shouted, turned the horse's head and chased after the procession of carriages. Yang Kai was confused. While he was hesitating, the middle-aged man had returned to the procession of carriages. He lifted his collar again and threw him into the air. He smiled and said, "Old Wu catch?" On the first carriage, the old coachman didn't even bat an eyelid. The whip in his hand swept through the air, wrapping around Kai Yang's waist. With a gentle tug, he pulled Kai Yang to his side and sat him down. The procession of carriages didn't stop for a moment from beginning to end. This old man was a master. Yang Kai looked at old Wu in surprise. He estimated that he was at least in Yuan Qi state. Although in a sect like High Heaven Pavilion, Yuan Qi state was nothing. The younger generation, Su Yan and Xia Hongchen, had already cultivated to Yuan Qi state. But for those small forces and families, Yuan Qi state was already in existence they looked up to. There were even some who could dominate a small place even if they were in separation and reunion state. Old Wu was motionless. His eyelids were drooping, and the wrinkles on his face were crisscrossing. He looked like he was about to die. Noticing Yang Kai's gaze, he picked up a water bottle beside him and handed it to Yang Kai. "Thank you, old mister." Yang Kai took a sip and immediately spat it out. The cultivator on the horses in front laughed. Someone said, "Old Wu, how can you give him such a strong drink? Isn't this the same as asking for his life? Your wine, we don't dare to touch it." Yang Kai felt as if there was a fire in his throat. He was secretly speechless. It wasn't that he hadn't drunk wine before, but this was the first time he had drunk such a strong drink. "I'll return it to you." Yang Kai felt that he didn't have the fortune to enjoy it, so he handed the bottle back. Elder Wu took it and drank a mouthful. His withered face seemed to be glowing, and he drove the carriage more and more skillfully. Being kindly taken in, Yang Kai didn't say much. He just quietly sat beside old Wu. When they reached the destination, they separated from the group. The speed of the convoy wasn't very fast. After all, they still had to take care of the women's health. It wasn't until evening that they had traveled 70 to 80 li. When night fell, the convoy stopped and found a place in the wilderness to start a fire and cook. There were about 30 people in this group, all of whom were veterans. Soon, the smell of delicious food filled the air. Yang Kai walked down and stretched his body, thinking about the insights he had gained over the past few days and stabilizing his state of mind. Not long after, a third carriage also walked down. Yang Kai turned his head and saw 3 women coming down. One of them was a beautiful woman in her 30s. Her figure was plump and her skin was like white jade. Her charm was boundless. Beside her were 2 younger women, both of them in their 20s. One of them was dressed as a maidservant. Her eyes twinkled as she supported the other. The one being supported should be the young lady mentioned by the middle-aged man. This young lady was also a pretty girl with a graceful figure. In terms of appearance, although she couldn't compare with Su Yen or the Hu sisters, she was still a beauty. Especially her floral dress, which made her look exquisite. As soon as these 3 women appeared, Yang Kai clearly felt many cultivators' eyes turn towards him. Whether it was the dignified and graceful appearance of the beautiful woman, the delicate appearance of the young lady, or the charming appearance of the maidservant, all of them had extraordinary temperaments and naturally attracted the eyes of men. As he was looking, the maidservant suddenly glared at Yang Kai and scolded, "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll dig out your eyes." Although her tone was fierce and she was scolding Yang Kai, her words seemed to be referring to something else. The surrounding gazes quickly turned away. Yang Kai coughed dryly and looked away. "Chui, the young lady whispered. The maidservant Chui, muttered unhappily and helped the young lady and the madam to the side to rest. After a while, it was finally time to eat. A group of cultivators were minding their own business. The madam and the young lady were also taken care of by the maidservant Chui. However, Yang Kai, an outsider, was ignored at all. He sat aside and looked pitiful. The madam and the young lady obviously saw it. They whispered to Chui. The latter nodded and went to get some food. She walked to Yang Kai and handed it to him. "Little beggar, eat something." Yang Kai didn't refuse. He reached out to take it and thanked her. Chui smiled at him charmingly. She squatted down and whispered, "Little beggar, don't be angry. I didn't scold you just now." Yang Kai frowned. "What did you call me?" He felt strange as early as during the day. The middle-aged man seemed to have called him that, but he didn't understand at that time. Now Chui also called him that. "Little beggar, aren't you?" Chui pursed her lips and smiled. Her eyes were like the moon. "I'm a little beggar?" Yang Kai finally understood. "Does this mean that I'm a beggar?" Yang Kai was shocked when he looked down. His clothes were tattered and covered with dust and stains. It was extremely shabby. Chui smiled happily. She took out a small bronze mirror from her arms and handed it to Yang Kai. She said, "Look at yourself. Which part of you doesn't look like a little beggar?" Yang Kai took a deep breath when he glanced at it. "This is what I look like now?" His hair was as messy as a chicken's nest, with several strands of long hair sticking together and draped over his shoulders. His face was covered in dirt, and it was impossible to see his appearance clearly. Coupled with his sloppy clothes, he looked just like a little beggar. He had been learning the footwork for more than a month, but he ended up like this. Yang Kai vaguely remembered that he had knocked into trees many times and fell into puddles several times. Chui smiled and took back the bronze mirror. She exhaled and asked, "Little beggar, where did you come from? Why are you walking alone in the wilderness?" Yang Kai said angrily, "I've been begging all the way here. I don't know where I came from." "You're so pitiful." Chui sighed. She wanted to help Yang Kai pat the dust on his body, but she didn't want to dirty her hands. She could only frown. Chapter 167. It's a pity that I don't have clothes that you can wear. Otherwise, I can give you a few sets of clothes. It's autumn now. It will be very cold at night. You are so little. Be careful not to catch a cold. Chui looked at Yang Kai sympathetically. She saw that Yang Kai was only wearing thin clothes. His body was thin. His ribs could be vaguely seen between his chest and abdomen. His face was dirty, but his eyebrows were handsome. His eyes were bright. Obviously, he was not old. He was so young, but he couldn't eat enough and wear warm clothes. Chui thought. Listening to her, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. He smiled and said, "It's okay. Well, you are delicious. If it's not enough, you can go there and get more. No one will dare to say anything." Chui clapped her hands and stood up. Then she went to serve the madam and the young miss again. After a night of silence, the convoy set off again the next day. For 2 days, Yang Kai stayed in the convoy. During the day, he sat beside old Wu and watched him whip the horse. During the rest time, the maid Chui would sometimes come and talk to him. After 2 days of chatting with Chui, Yang Kai also learned about their whereabouts. About 3 days away from here, there was a city called Hai City. Their destination was there. This group of people came from Tongzhou. They were originally a small force there. But half a year ago, the master of this family died. The madam took the young miss to Hai City to seek refuge with a close friend of the master. About these things, Chui didn't say anything in detail. Obviously, she didn't dare to say too much. But Yang Kai also inferred something from it. No one was willing to drag their family and leave their hometown, especially orphans and widows. This journey was thousands of miles away. They had to go through a lot of risks and worries. If there wasn't a last resort, how could they make such a choice? Yang Kai guessed that the master of this family must have offended a lot of people in Tongzhou. When he died, the madam and the young miss had no one to rely on. Naturally, they could only go far away. Traveling with the convoy, these large number of cultivators also confirmed Yang Kai's inference. According to Chui, these cultivators, half of them were cultivated by the master when he was alive. After the master died, they were still willing to protect the madam and the young miss until they returned to Tongzhou. Some of them were hired. Along the way, they encountered quite a few bandits who tried to rob them, but they managed to turn misfortune into blessings. Fortunately, they did not suffer any losses. Yang Kai also asked Chui Er about the situation in Sea City, but Chui Er had never been there herself, so she wasn't very clear about it. He had only heard from the madam that this was a city by the sea, and it had a scenery that was different from the interior. A city by the sea. Yang Kai was also a little bit curious. If it wasn't for the enlightenment of his footwork, Kai Yang reckoned that he wouldn't have been able to walk so far. He knew the Dark Han dynasty's territory, the southernmost part was the endless sea. With some expectations in his heart, Yang Kai continued to walk with the convoy. Although the image was very unkempt, Yang Kai didn't take care of it. This group of people already thought he was a little beggar. If he took care of it, he would suddenly become handsome. It would only arouse suspicion. In these 2 days, what Yang Kai did the most was to observe the movements of old Wu who was driving the carriage. He found that when the old man was driving the horse, there was an indescribable charm when he swung the whip. The whip was not loud, but it could make the horse gallop. His strength was only at the Yuan Qi level, which was not very high. But after all, he was old. He had his own accumulation and understanding of martial arts. And these were all hidden in the way he swung the whip. Yang Kai looked as if he was drunk. Combined with his own understanding of the footwork a few days ago, he faintly felt that there were some similarities. Old Wu didn't care about him. He swung the whip by himself and occasionally drank a mouthful of strong wine. The two of them sat on the shaft of the carriage and didn't say a word for the whole day. That evening, the caravan stopped once again. Yang Kai got off the carriage and left the crowd. As usual, he found a secluded place to sit down. He pulled up a weed from the ground and swung it casually. The cultivator in the carriage didn't like him very much. No one would like a beggar. If it wasn't for the kindness of the young lady, they wouldn't have brought Yang Kai along. After a while, footsteps sounded behind him. Without looking back, Yang Kai knew who it was. "Hey, little beggar." The voice of the maid Chui Er came. Yang Kai smiled bitterly and rubbed his forehead. "I already told you my name. Can't you change the way you call me?" The 3 words "little beggar" were not very pleasant to hear. "Little brat." Chui Er looked at him angrily. She turned her palm and took out 2 chestnuts. She handed one to Yang Kai and picked up the other one to peel. This girl often took out snacks to share with Yang Kai when she was resting. Yang Kai didn't understand why she didn't hate him when he looked like a poor beggar. Later, he asked and found out that Cui Er had a younger brother, but he starved to death. The two siblings also begged before they were taken in by the madam and the young lady. Yang Kai looked about the same age as her dead brother. Naturally, she didn't hate him. Did you steal food from the young lady again? Yang Kai rolled his eyes. Cui Er stared at him. How is this stealing? This is given to me by the young lady. The young lady treats me very well. She will give me a little of everything to eat. Then why don't you stay and serve her? Yang Kai peeled the chestnut and stuffed it into his mouth. The young lady and the madam are tired from the journey. They said that they want to rest. I don't need to serve them. Cui Er replied. She glanced at Yang Kai and said, Little beggar, what are you going to do when we reach High City? I don't know. I'm going to walk around. Yang Kai shook his head. Cui Er curled her lips. You make it sound so nice. Isn't it just begging with a broken bowl? It's not like my sister didn't do it before. Yang Kai smiled and didn't explain. Well, you can follow us. Anyway, when we reach High City, we will need to recruit some servants. I think you're pretty smart and quick-witted. Being a servant won't be too bad. What do you think? With my guarantee, the madam and the young lady won't have a problem. Wait until you earn some money. Maybe you can find a good wife. Cui Er said. She was quite charming and beautiful. When she spoke like this, her expression was very ambiguous. It added to the seductive feeling. Yang Kai agreed. Well, it would be good if I can find a wife like you. Cui Er covered her mouth and chuckled. You are really bad. You deserve to be a beggar all your life. I have to think about whether I should lead a wolf into the house. You really have to think about it. Yang Kai's expression was solemn. He just casually agreed. This time, he came out to gain experience. He couldn't run to other people to be a servant. But if he refused now, he would have to waste a lot of time explaining. I won't talk nonsense with you. I have never seen a beggar like you. Cui Er glared at Yang Kai. She then lazily stood up and said, We will arrive at Sea City in one day. You should rest well tonight. I'm also tired. I won't be able to help you with your meal later. Yang Kai nodded. These days, every time it was time to eat, Cui Er would help him get rice. She was afraid that he would be bullied by the cultivator group. After watching Cui Er enter the third carriage, Yang Kai continued to shake the withered grass in his hand. He wanted to find the feeling of old Wu. Not long after, the food was ready. With a shout, many cultivators rushed over. Yang Kai also stood up and walked over. But before he could take a few steps, someone stepped in front of Yang Kai and blocked him. Looking up, Yang Kai saw the middle-aged man from that day. He was staring at him with a cold face. What's wrong? Yang Kai frowned. Get out of here. There is no food for you tonight. The middle-aged man looked at Yang Kai with disdain. His voice was low and his eyes were full of threat. A sneer appeared on Kai Yang's face as he stared at him quietly. Your eyes are good. The middle-aged man nodded slightly and threatened again. But if you want to die, I can help you. Yang Kai didn't say anything. He turned around and sat back. He didn't want to have a conflict with these people. No matter what, he was taken in, and Cui Er treated him well. There was no need to make a fuss over dinner. He wouldn't starve to death if he missed a meal. At least you know what's good for you. The middle-aged man snorted. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but the moment Yang Kai turned around, he seemed to see the middle-aged man's expression relax. This sudden change in expression caused Yang Kai's heart to clench as a bad feeling welled up in his heart. He quickly called out to Old Demon, warning him to remain vigilant while he scanned his surroundings. This time, Yang Kai was even more surprised. Although this place was the same as the place where he usually rested, it was even more desolate. The place where he usually rested had traces left by people. But this place was definitely a ghost place that no one cared about. To put it bluntly, this place was most suitable for killing people and throwing away corpses. It shouldn't be, right? Yang Kai was a little suspicious. He looked up at the sky. It was pitch black and the wind whistled. It was a moonless and windy night. It was a good time to kill and set fire. On the other side, many cultivators were fighting for food. They chatted and laughed as they ate. Although Old Wu was a coachman, his status was definitely not low. Because at this moment, someone was serving food to him. He sat by the shaft of the carriage, drinking and looking at the sky. He looked old and desolate. Not long after, everyone was full. The thing that Yang Kai had been worried about didn't happen. He couldn't help but laugh at himself for being too sensitive. After the group finished eating, they chatted for a while. Under the middle-aged man's orders, a few were left to keep watch. Most of them sat around the fire and slept. Yang Kai also slowly relaxed. He lay in the distance and closed his eyes to rest. 2 hours later, the old demon's voice suddenly sounded. "Young master, something is wrong." Yang Kai suddenly opened his eyes. He didn't need the old demon's reminder. He also felt that something was wrong. The group of martial artists who were sleeping around the bonfire were breathing heavily at this moment. Generally speaking, when a cultivator walked in the wild, they had to be vigilant at all times even if they were in a group. It was impossible for them to fall into deep sleep at night. Basically, they just closed their eyes and slept lightly. It was enough to recover their strength and spirit. They had been like this for the past few nights. But now, these people were all in deep sleep. Yang Kai reckoned that if he wanted to wake them up, he would have to make a big commotion. Chapter 168. The cultivator had the responsibility to protect them, so it was impossible for them to be so careless. The only explanation left was that they were drugged and had no choice. Recalling the attitude of the middle-aged man towards him during dinner and the instant he relaxed, Kai Yang faintly understood what was going on. In his eyes, he was just an ordinary beggar. The dinner was definitely drugged. If he ate like those people, he would definitely be drugged. After all, an ordinary person's resistance would not be as strong as a cultivator's. Once he fell, it would definitely arouse suspicion. Although the truth was not so, this was definitely the middle-aged man's worry. That was why he threatened him so fiercely and did not let him eat dinner. When he turned around and left, the middle-aged man was relieved. Guarding day and night, it was hard to guard against thieves. What was the middle-aged man planning? Was it money, beauty, or something else? Yang Kai hoped that his guess was wrong. This young lady was kind and Cui Air treated him well. Good people always have good karma. But when he quietly looked towards the cultivator's gathering place, his heart could not help but feel cold. Beside the flickering bonfire, a few figures sneakily climbed up. Then they slowly pulled out the sword at their waist and slit the neck of their unconscious companions who had been eating and living with them for the past few days. A slight sound was heard and blood splattered. Just like that, a few lives and souls had silently returned to the netherworld. Yang Kai did not dare to move. Although he had advanced to the Qi transformation stage, the number of thieves was not small. Moreover, the middle-aged man was also an expert of the Yuan Qi stage. Acting rashly would only cause him to lose his life. Moreover, he did not know if there were any thieves hiding in the crowd. Was Old Wu with them? With Old Man Wu's ability, everyone was destined to be doomed. Squinting his eyes, he looked towards the carriage where Old Wu was. Yang Kai could not help but relax, but immediately became nervous again, because he saw that the middle-aged man was coldly and vigilantly moving towards Old Wu. His footsteps were silent and his aura was restrained to the extreme. The long sword in his hand was by his side. Under the dark sky, there was no reflection. Old Wu was not one of them. But at this moment his life was also in danger. Yang Kai's mind raced. He quietly reached out and found a small stone on the ground. He pinched it on his fingertips and suddenly flicked it out. Originally, Yang Kai wanted to hit Old Wu to see if he could wake him up, but he didn't dare to use too much Yuan Qi to expose himself. This time, the stone actually missed its mark and hit the middle-aged man's sword by accident. Clang! A crisp sword cry rang out. In this murderous, life-reaping, and incomparably quiet night, it seemed incomparably abrupt. The middle-aged man obviously did not expect such a change. The moment the voice rang out, his expression suddenly turned cold. Without any hesitation, he shook his long sword and stabbed towards Old Wu. At this critical juncture, Old Wu opened his sleepy eyes and instinctively leaned to the side. Blood splattered as Old Wu's shoulder was pierced through. The pain instantly woke him up, and the whip in his hand made a crisp, cracking sound. He charged towards the middle-aged man and shouted angrily, "Zhang Ding! What are you doing?" Zhang Ding did not answer. He pulled back his long sword and fought with Old Wu with a cold expression. Yang Kai quietly looked around and found that the sleeping cultivator had been awakened at this moment. He couldn't help but feel relieved. It seemed that the middle-aged man, Zhang Ding, was also very careful when he drugged them. He did not dare to use too obvious fatal poison or too strong of a knockout drug. After all, this kind of drug was very strong and smelled very strong. It could be easily seen through. However, his cautiousness had ruined his entire plan after the sword chime had sounded. If it wasn't for that sword chime, everyone here would have been silently killed by Zhang Ding and his subordinates. After the sleeping cultivator was awakened, they all looked around blankly and were a little confused. Not long after, there was a cry of alarm. Sun Jianming is dead. Who did it? Before he finished speaking, the man felt a chill in his chest. He looked down and saw the tip of a sword pierce through his body. "Diao Hong, what are you doing?" The roar was mixed with an incredulous question. In this kind of situation, the most frightening thing was to be stabbed in the back by trusted companions. The group of cultivator had just woken up and a few of them were quickly dealt with by Zhang Ding's subordinates. Only at this moment did they finally react. They roared and started to fight with them with incomparable anger. The battlefield was divided into two groups. One group was a chaotic battle between the soldiers, and the other group was a one-on-one battle between Zhang Ding and Old Wu. Curses, anger, and questions were endless. At this moment, Yang Kai took advantage of the night and quietly moved towards the third carriage. He originally wanted to run. This was the safest way. But thinking of Cui Er's care for him these days, Yang Kai felt uneasy. The three women in the carriage were obviously awakened by the movement outside. When Yang Kai came here, he heard Cui Er's somewhat dissatisfied voice from inside. "Why are you making so much noise in the middle of the night?" Then there was the sound of clothes being put on. Kai Yang didn't waste any time. Lifting the carriage's curtain, he entered. "Who is it?" Cui Er was shocked. Raising her two delicate fists, she threw a punch towards Yang Kai's face. "Don't hit, it's me." Yang Kai held Cui Er's two hands and held them tightly. "Little beggar." Cui Er finally recognized Yang Kai's voice. She immediately gritted her teeth and said, "You lecher, get out of here." As he spoke, he sent a kick towards Yang Kai. In the carriage, the madam and the young lady were also scared by Yang Kai. They were shivering like quails in the cold winter. "Shut up." Yang Kai covered her mouth. He pressed her down on the board of the carriage. She was about to speak. She suddenly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Close at hand, Yang Kai clearly saw that Cui Er was only wearing a small underwear at the moment. She did not have time to tidy up her outer clothes. "Zhang Ding is rebelling. You hear it yourself." Yang Kai quickly said. These words were said to the three women in the carriage. After all, it was indeed a bit abrupt to rush in the middle of the night. He had to explain the reason. Looking at the madam and the young lady, Yang Kai quickly looked away. He found that these three women were really bold. When sleeping in the carriage at night, they only took off their underwear. The young lady was better, but the madam's clothes were much less than Cui Er's. Although the light was dim, Yang Kai's eyesight was extraordinary now. He saw everything that should not be seen. The three women in the carriage were stunned and listened carefully. Sure enough, they heard Old Wu scolding Zhang Ding mixed with Zhang Ding's cold laughter. How could this be? Cui Er was stunned. At this moment, the madam and the young lady were holding the quilt in front of them. Their faces were pale. "Put on your clothes first. I will take you out of here." Yang Kai gritted his teeth. He did not know how long Old Wu and the other cultivator could hold on. He also did not know who would have the last laugh in this battle. But he absolutely could not continue to stay in the carriage. Yang Kai's calmness slightly affected the three women. When they heard his words, they remembered what they should do at this moment. The madam's face was a little red. She said in a trembling voice, "Little beggar, can you go down first and wait for us to put on our clothes?" Yang Kai turned his head and looked at her. He was a little impatient. "Madam, if you still want to live, don't worry too much. If I go down now, I will only expose my whereabouts." Madam nodded slightly after hearing his words. The three women quickly put on their clothes in the carriage. Although Yang Kai's back was facing them, the madam and the young lady were still blushing. A mother and a daughter wearing clothes in front of a man. This was something that they did not dare to think about before. Now that the situation forced them to do it, they could only suppress the shyness in their hearts. Chui was better. She was more open, and she was more familiar with Yang Kai. She was dressed neatly in a short time. Then she went to help the madam and the young lady. After a short while, the three women had put on their clothes. "Let's run away quickly." Chui's voice was a little trembling. Yang Kai was about to open the curtain of the carriage. He stopped and said with a gloomy face, "It's too late." Before he finished his words, old Wu's scream was heard. After a few breaths of time, the battle outside gradually stopped. Old Wu and the cultivator who was guarding the carriage had obviously failed. Old Wu and the others were drugged, so they could not use their full strength. Zhang Ding and his men attacked first. Even though they were outnumbered, they still had the upper hand. "Cough, cough, old bastard." A weak cough came from outside. It was the voice of the middle-aged man, Zhang Ding. Obviously, he was badly injured in the battle with Old Wu. This cough gave Yang Kai a glimmer of hope to survive. "What should we do? What should we do?" Chui held Yang Kai tightly and asked with a sobbing voice. The madam and the young lady also looked at him anxiously. At this moment, the young man who was regarded as a little beggar by the three women was their savior. "Don't panic. Madam, you use words to trick him. I will find an opportunity to make a move." Yang Kai said softly. He took a deep breath and held his breath to suppress his heartbeat. The madam was still a madam. Although she was in a dangerous situation and her face was pale, she still nodded when she heard Yang Kai's words. She was not like Chui and the young lady who were panicking. The sound of footsteps approached from outside. Yang Kai listened carefully and deduced that there were only 5 people left. As the sound of footsteps approached, Chui leaned closer to Kai Yang. Her delicate body trembled. In this dark night, the sound of approaching footsteps was like an evil spirit, causing people to feel panic in their hearts. The footsteps finally stopped outside the carriage. Zhang Ding coughed again and said in a weak voice, "Madam, young lady, please get out of the carriage." The madam took a deep breath and said in a trembling voice, "Zhang Ding, my master treated you like a brother when he was alive. Why did you do this?" It could be heard that the madam's question was painful. Obviously, she did not expect Zhang Ding to be so decisive. There was a long silence outside. After a long time, Zhang Ding said, "Madam, please forgive me. People die for wealth and birds die for food. My master has passed away, but he left behind such a big property. Madam and young lady are powerless. How can you keep it? Only for wealth?" The madam smiled bitterly and asked, "What about the others? Do they also think the same?" Zhang Ding said, "Yes." The madam smiled bitterly. "Since that is the case, you can take the property and go. Zhang Ding, if you still care about our old friendship, please let us go. We just want to live today. We don't want anything else." The madam's words clearly showed that she did not place all her hopes on Kai Yang. Although he appeared to be very calm, in the madam's eyes, he was just a little beggar. How could he resist the powerful Zhang Ding? Chapter 169. When Zhang Ding heard the madam's words, he was unmoved. He chuckled and said, "Madam, please get out of the carriage first. Do you really want to be so heartless?" The madam's face was ashen. Zhang Ding did not agree to her request. Obviously, he planned to eliminate the source of trouble. "Madam." Zhang Ding's voice was cold. If you cooperate, I will leave you with a complete corpse. But if you refuse... I'm ashamed to say this, but this one has admired Madam for a long time. It's a pity that I can't get close to her. But before Madam dies, I want to fulfill this wish of mine." In the carriage, the Madam's delicate body trembled. She clenched her fists so hard that her knuckles turned white. She could imagine what would happen to her if Zhang Ding wanted to do anything to her. "You heartless thing." Cui Er could not help but curse. Zhang Ding sneered, "Cui Er, I hope you can still curse when you are stripped naked." One of the few cultivators who were still alive laughed wildly and said, "Cui Er, I will take care of you later." Cui Er's face turned pale. She shrank behind Yang Kai. Inside the carriage, the three women were all trembling incessantly, and even the carriage was shaking from time to time. "Madam, I will give you 10 breaths of time to get out of the carriage. I will give you a quick death and give you a proper burial." Zhang Ding gave her an ultimatum. The madam closed her eyes. 2 lines of tears flowed out. She held her daughter's hand. Her face was full of despair. After a while, she made up her mind. She opened her eyes and smiled at her daughter. Her eyes were full of determination. Instead of being humiliated, it was better to have a quick death. When she was about to get up, she was pressed back by Yang Kai. The latter slowly shook his head at her. 10 breaths of time passed quickly. Zhang Ding's impatient voice sounded, "It seems that the madam wants to give me this opportunity. In that case, it would be impolite for me to refuse." With that said, Zhang Dingzhong lifted the curtain of the carriage and was about to walk in. But before his footsteps landed, a pitch-black, filthy face appeared before his eyes. This person grinned at him, revealing 2 rows of white fangs. "Little beggar." This face was clearly the face of the little beggar that he had brought over a few days ago. Zhang Ding turned pale with fright. He was so focused on his wife that he didn't notice that there were other people in the carriage. After the initial shock, he became furious. He was a master of Yuan Qi, but he was scared by a beggar. He really lost face. Without thinking too much, Zhang Ding reached out and grabbed Yang Kai, intending to throw him out. Yang Kai did not dodge. His seemingly light and powerless fists quickly struck out. In the blink of an eye, 4 or 5 punches had landed on Zhang Ding's chest. What incredible speed! Zhang Ding was shocked again, but he immediately sneered, "You're courting death." He didn't feel much destructive power from this little beggar's fist, so he just thought that it was a random punch. He threw Yang Kai away and said angrily, "Kill him." Several of Zhang Ding's subordinates moved out upon hearing the order. Their swords flashed as they charged towards Yang Kai. "Little beggar!" Cui Er exclaimed. She never thought that the calm Yang Kai was actually a fake master. He was defeated by Zhang Ding in just 1 move. Before her voice died away, Zhang Ding's face suddenly changed. Half of his body that was in the carriage froze in place. His face turned red and his eyes bulged out. It was a terrifying sight. The next moment, accompanied by an explosive sound, a pool of blood appeared on Zhang Ding's chest. Violent and scorching Yuan Qi suddenly surged within his body. Zhang Ding was scared out of his wits. Only now did he realize that the punches that the little beggar threw at him were very powerful. He hurriedly operated the Yuan Qi in his body to suppress the throbbing in his chest. Bang bang bang. A series of sounds came out. Zhang Ding's entire chest was badly mutilated. He screamed and retreated out of the carriage. He was indeed a master of the Yuan Qi realm. The Yuan Qi in his body was not something an ordinary person could compare to. Yang Kai threw out 4 or 5 burning yang bursts without hesitation. Moreover, it was the burning yang bursts after he was enlightened. There was no trace of the attack, but it still only injured him severely and didn't take his life. Blood and pieces of flesh spurted out of Zhang Ding's chest and splashed onto the faces of the 3 girls. When Zhang Ding retreated, they also screamed. At the same time, Zhang Ding's subordinates also attacked Yang Kai with their swords. But the crowd only saw Yang Kai's figure turn illusory and suddenly disappear. All the attacks missed. The footwork that he learned over the past month finally came in handy at this critical moment. Old Demon wrapped himself in the Soul Breaker All and let out a strange laugh as he transformed into a mass of black chi, disturbing the minds of the surrounding cultivators, causing them to be flustered for a moment. What the hell is this? Someone's expression changed drastically, but just as he finished shouting, Yang Kai's figure flickered and appeared behind him, punching out fiercely, right in the middle of his back. This person's strength was not high. When the hidden energy of the burning yang bursts entered his body, he couldn't resist it like Zhang Ding. The yuan qi surged and his face turned red. The old demon took the opportunity to enter his body with the Soul Breaker All. When it came out, the person's body exploded into a cloud of blood. The strange laughter became more and more terrifying. The old demon was originally a 10,000-year-old demon. Although the power of his spirit was greatly reduced, his laughter still contained a power that made people's hearts palpitate. Yang Kai and his cooperation were almost invincible. Zhang Ding's subordinates were all killed before he could even finish executing a set of footwork. All of them exploded into pieces of flesh and broken limbs. Until now, Zhang Ding had just resolved Yang Kai's true yang energy. He looked at Yang Kai with a ferocious and crazy face and shouted in disbelief, "Little beggar, you have been pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger." The beggar that he thought was just an ordinary person was now the biggest obstacle to his plan. How could Zhang Ding calm down? What's more, he was caught off guard by Yang Kai and suffered a great loss. At this moment, his eyes were scarlet. He looked at Yang Kai with an expression as if he wanted to eat him. Yang Kai, who was covered in blood, stood there quietly and looked at him. He said lightly, "How much of your strength do you have left?" If Zhang Ding was in his best condition, Yang Kai estimated that unless he used the star mark, he wouldn't be able to defeat him. However, although the star mark was powerful, it took too long to gather power. It was not suitable for a life and death battle. But now, Zhang Ding was not in his best condition. First, he fought with Boss Wu. Then he was attacked by Yang Kai. His chest was bloody. It was hard to say how much strength he had left. Yang Kai was not afraid of him. "Even if I only have 20% of my strength left, it is enough to kill you," Zhang Ding roared. The long sword in his hand was flickering. He used his footwork to get close to Yang Kai. He stabbed with his sword a few times, vowing to kill Yang Kai with his sword. Not waiting for Zhang Ding to fully display his sword skills, Old Demon wrapped himself in the Soul Breaker All and clashed with him, cackling endlessly. Under his heavy injuries, Zhang Ding was unable to break through Old Demon's blockade and couldn't help calling out, "What kind of artifact is this?" He was a person with rich combat experience and knowledge, but he had never seen such a strange, secret treasure like the Soul Breaker All. It did not need to be activated, but it could attack by itself. Moreover, there was a terrifying laughter coming from inside it. It seemed that it was psychic. It was really strange. A secret treasure that will kill you. Yang Kai's voice suddenly came from behind him. Zhang Ding's hair stood on end. He clearly saw Yang Kai standing not far from him. How could he suddenly appear behind him? When he looked again, the little beggar in front of him was blurred. It was just an afterimage. He hurriedly pulled out his sword and stabbed it in the air. Yang Kai had already used his footwork to flash to his left side. Without hesitation, he punched. Zhang Ding could not defend himself. He screamed and his whole arm exploded. In an instant, his arm drooped down. This punch broke his shoulder blade. Moreover, the yuan qi that invaded his body was very pure. It was not something that a qi transforming stage cultivator could have. This made Zhang Ding particularly shocked. Although he had only practiced double cultivation with Su Yan a few times, the art of joyous union had a significant effect on refining the purity of yuan qi. The purity of the yuan qi in Yang Kai's body was far beyond his current level. This was all thanks to the art of joyous union. The old demon took the opportunity to attack. The Soul Breaker All collided with his long sword, producing a clanking sound. One master and one slave, the two swords were perfect without any flaws. Zhang Ding could only focus on the front and ignore the back. In less than half a cup of tea's time, he staggered and was covered in blood. His mind was greatly shaken. How could Zhang Ding have the will to continue fighting? If he did not run, he felt that he would die here. However, Yang Kai and the old demon would not give him a chance to escape. One from the front and one from the back completely blocked his escape route. Another burning sun explosion was released. Zhang Ding vomited a mouthful of blood, and his mind was distracted. The old demon saw the opportunity and rushed into his body with the soul breaker all. Zhang Ding's expression suddenly became confused. His eyes gradually lost their light and he fell to the ground. A moment later, the old demon reappeared. Accompanied by wild laughter and chewing sounds, it turned into black gas and disappeared into Yang Kai's fingertips. In this battle, the old demon had swallowed several souls. It was a great supplement. Standing in the same place and panting, Yang Kai felt a sense of powerlessness. This time, he did not use the unyielding will because the battle with Zhang Ding did not bring him any pressure or danger. However, Yang Kai could feel that his strength was still too low. If Zhang Ding was not injured, if he did not succeed in his sneak attack, if he did not have the yang liquid stored in the dantian, how could he fight with such a master face-to-face? Just by using the burning sun explosion, it only took 3 moves to drain the yuan qi in his meridians. If it was any other qi transforming stage cultivator, they would have already become a corpse. As for himself, he had to use almost 10 moves of the burning sun explosion to kill Zhang Ding with the help of the old demon. The hardships involved were not worth mentioning. After calming down for a while, Yang Kai slowly walked towards the third carriage. As the sound of footsteps approached, the 3 women in the carriage became nervous. Cui Er's trembling voice came out, "Little beggar?" Yang Kai weakly replied. The curtain of the carriage was lifted, revealing Cui Er's pale face. Behind her, the madam and the young lady looked at Yang Kai nervously. Where are they? Cui Er looked around. Cui Er immediately covered her mouth and looked at Yang Kai in disbelief. The madam and the young lady could not help but exhale. They thought that they would not be able to escape, but they never thought that they would be able to survive. This kind of narrow escape from death made them feel weak all over. Once they relaxed, the 3 women in the carriage felt weak. "Stay here and don't move. I will go and see if there are any survivors." Yang Kai told them and turned around to check the bonfire. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, Martial World, and tales of demons and gods.